Good morning from the land of the incredibly sleep deprived. How are you doing? I hope you're all well. I've missed you all, to say the very least. It's been a wild few weeks, but I wanted to check in to see how you are all doing, and also tell you about the last few weeks and how everything's been. I'm just watching the monitor and it's on my desk. It's the first day really that I've come back into my studio to just try and do a little bit of something. I'm really missing everything, so I'm not back at work at the moment. I'm just you know, just floating around. I'm really missing my work right now, but it's all for a very good reason. So I just thought I would tell you what's been going on over the last few weeks. So obviously I gave birth. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know this already, but my son is here now, and I've never been more in love in my entire life. If I say any more than that, I'll start crying. I'm still very, very emotional. There's been a lot of crying. Look at me. There's been a lot of crying going on over the last few weeks, but mainly all good. I'm also just getting over a cold as well, which I think that's what happens when I'm really run down and when I haven't had much sleep. It goes straight to my throat. But anyway, he's here, and I couldn't have wished for a smoother labour. I was very lucky. I did a lot of hypnobirthing beforehand, and I truly think that that helped towards my mindset and having such a positive labour and a really positive birth. So I actually went into labour, it's kind of hard I lost my mucus plug on Christmas Eve, and then it was gradually just more and more of it was coming out over Christmas, and I will just say that my labour was anything but textbook, I think. Although it was really good, it wasn't textbook. So I was always led to believe that your plug would come out in like one gloop, but mine didn't. It came out in lots and lots of gloops. Some were big, some were small, and because there was so much of it, like over a period of time, I was like, is it not? Is this just a weird bodily fluid? Sorry if that's TMI, but I'm over it. After everything that I've seen and done over the last few weeks, I mean, I gave birth in a birthing pool, pooed myself. Let's normalise pooing yourself. I think I pooed myself 3 times. Dignity, as my father says, just hang it up on the door before you go inside and then just collect it on your way back out again. So yeah, I lost my plug, and then just after Christmas, I started getting really intense period pains, and I said to James, I think this is it. And I've always said that I thought he would come early. I can't quite explain how I felt that way. I just can't. It just felt like he was really, really low. And I said to James, I think he's going to come between Christmas and New Year, and he did. But yeah, I said to James, I think this is it. But it felt like really intense period pains. It was nothing like how I imagined contractions to be. But it was on, off, on, off. And the reason I say it wasn't really textbook is I had a contraction app as well on my phones, because I was like, I'm going to start timing these bad boys and just see what happens. But mine they started off every 5 minutes. But then they went to every 15 minutes, and then it was every 7 minutes, and then every 20 minutes, and then every 10 minutes, and then back down to every 5 minutes. So I rang the midwives and I was like, look, this is happening. And they basically just said, until you are having them, is it every 5 minutes and then they're a minute long each? But that just never happened for me. So 48 hours go by of this and I was feeling like well and truly done by this point. I was like, I'm so fed up of not knowing what's going on. They said to me, it sounds like you're in early labour, but because it's also your first baby, it could go on for a really long time, which it did. 48 hours at home. I think he's awake. I'm just going to go check on him. So eventually I just got to a point where I was like, it doesn't feel right to me anymore. So I rang them again, and they said, look, because you've rang a 3rd time, we need to see you. Because I think I rang them when I lost my plug, and then when the pain started, and then this was the 3rd phone call. So they were like, look, we wouldn't ask to see you right now, but because you've rung 3 times, we need to see you right now. So I went down with James, and they checked me, and I was 6 centimetres. So I'm just glad I listened to my own body, you know. Otherwise I could well have, you know, it could have happened at home, who knows. But I went to the hospital, and 6 hours later our son was born. So yeah, I had a really positive birth. So I just had gas and air in a birthing pool. I feel very blessed that I was able to use a birthing pool, and it was just the most wonderful experience. Painful, but wonderful experience. And it just, I can't really put into words. I've not really tried to put it into words before today, but as you can see, it just makes me really emotional. But yeah, everything went really well. I was allowed to come home the next day, so I stayed one night just so they could keep an eye on everything. And it was great. It was a really awesome, positive experience. Did have second-degree tears, so I had some stitches. I also ended up with some piles, which was great. Again, I'm so over any embarrassment, so I'm just going to talk about this, normalise the conversation, because even the look on some people's faces sometimes when they're like, oh, how are you down below, and I'm like, well, this happened, and they always look shocked. I mean, if you don't want to know, don't ask. I feel like everything's healed up really nicely. You know, have a little look down there. Everything feels great. Most importantly, baby and I are doing really well, and I am head over heels in love. A few people have asked me, did you know you were having a boy? And yes, we did. We found out at the 20-week scan, and just kept it on the down low like the rest of the pregnancy. But even like when I first looked at the pregnancy test, I can't tell you how I knew. I just knew that we'd have a boy. Deep down in my gut, I was like, this is a boy, I'm gonna have a son. And I love him. I absolutely adore him. Everything's been going really well. I'm doing well. I just wanted to check in and tell you I miss you. Hopefully I'll be back soon. I want to start trickling some videos onto YouTube. So as I said, I'm not back at work or anything yet. It's just that I want to stay in touch and hopefully vlog some everyday bits and pieces that I might get up to. So even though you might be subscribed or dip in and out of my channel for the art content, I hope you enjoy this at the same time, maybe, hopefully. So I'm just going to show you some clips now that I have collated over the last few weeks. At the end of the video though, what I am going to do is come back. So I'm going to continue filming right now, but you'll see it at the end of the video. And I just want to talk about breastfeeding, feeding in general, and also the topic of tongue tie. I'm going to do it at the end of the video just in case like that is not something that you want to partake in, because if there's anything that I've learned over the last few weeks, it's that it can be really triggering. I have an experience of just the other day where someone in a coffee shop said something to me. So yeah, I will see you at the end of the video if you want to talk about that some more. The reason I'm talking about it is I'm hoping that it opens up the discussion, and I have found this really isolating over the last few weeks, I'm not going to lie. So if you do want to reach out and talk about this some more, or just leave a comment down below, they are so welcome. I will show you all of this lovely stuff first, and then we'll talk about the struggle stuff at the end. So my studio has turned into a temporary like laundry room. It's just a constant cycle of laundry right now, and everything's a bit upside down. I did get sent by my lovely friends over at Arteza some acrylic paints to try out. I thought it would be a really nice little side project. My shop's not open at the moment and won't be for some time, but I just thought when I get that creative urge and I just want to paint stuff, what they've done is they've sent me a fresh supply of wooden slices, so I thought I'd make some videos with that. And I've never actually tried Arteza acrylic paint before, so I thought I would give it a whirl, because you all know how much I love their gouache. I can't rave about them enough. I use them all the time, along with lots of other bits and pieces from their collection. There's this big set here, and then there's this set of like smaller tubes, but they've also sent me some metallics as well, which is very exciting. I just have to show you my bag as well that I treated myself to for Christmas. I had my eye on it for ages. It went out of stock over on Truffle Shuffle, and then it came back in just before Christmas, like the week before Christmas, so I swiped it for myself, and it's the perfect little size actually. If I just want to go for a walk around the park or something and just chuck some bottles in or something, it's the perfect little size for that. I've actually been through, and this is all of his newborn stuff. There's also some of my maternity clothes in here right now that I was hoping, like these are leggings, and I was hoping that I'd still be able to wear them, but they're just too big and they look a bit, you know, saggy, which is not what leggings are supposed to look like. But I thought what I'm going to do is save my favourite pieces, because I have a memory box for him that I'm going to show you in a minute. And there's some grows in here that I just can't bear to part with, but the rest of them I thought I would open up a vintage or something and just pass them on to the next person, because they're pretty much brand new. I was told the entire time that he would be a big baby, so I only bought 0 to 3 months clothes. I thought, I'm not going to waste money on newborn stuff or up to 1 month size. So I didn't buy a single thing, and then he came out and he was only a £6 baby and nothing fit him. Everything looked like a tent on him. So my dad, bless him, was like, I'm going to go shopping. And I said, Dad, don't go shopping because he'll be out of it in a couple of weeks. But you know what grandparents are like. I just couldn't stop him. Off he went. My dad and my stepmum went shopping. They just got a couple of packs of baby grows, and that's what we've been rotating through, because I just knew that they wouldn't last very long, and he's out of them. And I'm a bit emotional that he's not my teeny tiny boy anymore, but also it is so lovely to see him growing. My little man has got hiccups at the moment. I need to get him changed into a new suit because we're going to go and visit my dad and stepmom in a moment. And then I need to go, what we're going to do is go to the big Sainsbury's, because he has outgrown all of his newborn stuff now. So I thought I'd show you some pretty bits that I found online over the last few weeks. This is not all stuff that I've bought all in one go or anything. Oh, I'll also show you this little pin that I treated myself to during the first couple of weeks. I think this is from Bombay Forest. I'll link it below. This box is his memory box. I wanted to get something to put photos in. He does have a photo, like, scrapbook album that I've been putting together up there. But this thing is going to be full of, like, I don't know, my pregnancy tests are in there. There's his scan photos are in there. His little cord clip is also in there because I kept that. Cards from people are in there. I've even kept one of his newborn nappies. And that's another thing. I've been saving up cloth nappies for ages. So they're all here, but they're just too big for him at the moment. So yeah, I've been buying these. I think I bought like 2 every month from like the summer. I even got him a Halloween one, look, but they're just too big at the moment, so we've had to be using these. There's just literally been no other way of doing it, so I just wanted to save one of his teeny tiny nappies so that I can remember just how tiny he was. But yeah, this box was from a company called Newbie. I got it online. There we go, Newbie. And then I also got him this blanket to lay over his legs in his car seat, because he's got lots and lots of thick winter ones. This one it's still thick and warm, but it can kind of, it's not too bulky, and I can tuck it into the edges of his car seat and keep him nice and warm without absolutely like plastering him in a big chunky blanket. Another small business gem, this was gifted to me by one of my lovely patrons. Her name's Helen. It's a beautiful crocheted bear hat. Now, he's been wearing this every time he goes out, and it's the cutest thing on. I can't even express just how bloody adorable he looks in this hat. Helen also makes them in lots of different colours, but she gifted me this one. She sent it to my PO box, and it was just the sweetest little thing to receive. So thank you so much again, Helen. But just to give back a little bit, I want to link your shop down below just in case anyone fancies going to pick one up. They're handmade and just so neat. They're so cute. So if you have a little one, they're the sweetest things, and Helen also does adult sized headwear as well. So yeah, another wonderful little small business there. And then some books. You all know, even before baby, I was collecting children's books, and I've always collected children's books for me, never with the intention of like having a child. We just never knew that even if that was even going to be a thing for us. So I've always collected children's books, but right now I've got a couple more to add to the collection that we're going to share. So this one, Little Goose's Autumn. I actually saw this one first, Little Bear's Spring, and I call him Little Bear online, and then I saw that one and thought, oh, that's so fitting, I'll get that one. But then I saw Little Goose's Autumn. Now I need to have a look into this. I was like, there must be a winter and a summer one as well then, but I don't know if they just haven't come out yet. It could just be that they're not made yet, because 2020, and obviously with the big P word and everything, it could have put things back. But oh, this one's 2019, so this one came before Goosey Goose. Maybe they're on their way, but I'm going to keep an eye out for them because it'd be nice to have the set. But the illustrations in these are absolutely stunning. They are beautiful, and I can't wait to read them together. I got this one for me, The Wolf's Secret. I think it's a bit darker, so I need to have a read of this one. But the illustrations, again, they're a bit dark. They're a bit dark and gloomy, and I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Look at this wolf. Look at that. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it could be child friendly because it's kind of set out like a children's book, but just having a quick flick through, I'm like, oh, these are a bit dark. I like it. It's right. Oh, look at that. I mean, it's right up my street, but I don't want to frighten the poor lad. My camera is getting worse at focusing, I swear. But yeah, it's a bit darker. We need to have a good read of that one, but another beautiful book just adds to our collection. He'll be waking up any minute now for some milk. We're definitely finding a routine, which is really nice. It's nice to see patterns happening. Hello, welcome back. I have a lot of thoughts about this, and it might be quite controversial, but we're going to talk about it anyway. I know that you're asked during your appointments and things, like, how do you intend on feeding your baby? And I always said, like, yeah, I'll try breastfeeding, more than up for trying it, would love to try it, and hopefully we can stick with it and it's going to be our method of feeding, because I didn't want to get emotionally attached, and little did I know that that was going to happen anyway. So as soon as my son was born, I was put on a table and James had him, so he was cuddling him, doing all the stuff. I was being stitched up, and then as soon as my legs were out of stirrups, they got baby and dumped him on my chest and latched him onto one of my boobs. And I remember thinking then, I was like, this is really painful, really painful. But I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to the midwife because I just thought, I'm gonna have to get used to it. This is probably just how it is. I didn't question it. Now, I'd heard what tongue tie was, but I guess like so many things in this life, you just assume that's never gonna happen to me. Like, what are the chances? I think he's waking up. I might have to go and get him in a minute. I have returned with child. Laundry basket in the background. Just, what has this channel turned into? Oh, you are funny. My apologies, I'm trying to improvise because I don't want his face on camera. And I didn't dare say anything, especially that early on. I thought, don't say anything now, they're just going to think you're an absolute wimp. So I didn't say anything. And then I got to my hospital bed, I fed him again, and I fed him a few times during the day. Because with newborns it's like little and often kind of thing, because their tummies are so small. And then it got to night time and I went to feed him, and he ended up being on my chest for a grand total of 3 hours. And I was in bits. By this point my nipples were starting to get into a bit of a state, and the midwives came round during the night and were asking how I was getting on and things. And by this point I was like, look, it hurts. Is it supposed to hurt this much? And they checked our latch, and obviously I'd been taught how to take him off the boob and then pop him back on, and I can't tell you how many times I did that. And in the back of my mind I was like, is this frustrating the poor lad? So eventually I asked, look, am I doing something wrong? Because that's when my brain first went. So they checked my latch and I was told, yeah, it's fine, and yes, he's drinking because he's swallowing. And I was like, I'm not convinced. But I carried on because I didn't know any better. I can hold my hands up and say I didn't know any better. And also I was listening to healthcare professionals, so I didn't really know that I could, you know, ask again, and I felt annoying. And I guess the reason I'm talking about it is, I'm just gonna say it now, please don't feel like you're annoying if you feel like something's wrong or not how it's supposed to be. Just ask. I know it's so hard though, you feel like you're annoying, you feel like you're just there to be a nuisance and just be another problem to add to their list, and that's what I felt like. But I wish, in hindsight, I wish I'd asked more. I wish I'd said to them, can you just check for a tongue tie? So eventually we were discharged, and we went home, and the first day and night were agony. And I wasn't scared about looking after him. I wasn't scared about any of the other aspects of having a newborn. I'm quite lucky that I've got a younger brother and sister who are quite a lot younger than me. So I'm 30 and my youngest sister is 12. I think she's nearly 12, so there's quite a big age difference, but I was quite lucky that I had that experience of being a decent part of when they were babies, and I gained a lot of experience from that, so I wasn't scared about anything. But the feeding side of it, breastfeeding, was terrifying because I felt like something wasn't right, and it was also that pressure of it being all on me to sustain this life in terms of food, which, you know, newsflash, is quite a big part of sustaining an infant. So I was up all night crying because my nipples were so sore whilst he was feeding. And when I say sore, I'm not just talking about, oh, I've got a bit of a grazed nipple. My nipples went black with blood blisters and actual blisters. They were scabbed. They were just so painful. And my midwife came the next day and I told her, and she was like, I'm just going to check his tongue. And she was like, I think he's got a bit of a tongue tie. So what we then did was I whipped my top off, and with my midwife's help I was massaging my boobs and getting out a bit of colostrum, which I hadn't been able to do until that day. So we had these teeny little syringes. We were massaging and hand expressing essentially, but all I could get at was 0.1 mil. It was minuscule, but I was assured that don't worry, keep doing it, the stimulation is needed because then it will bring the milk in. So I kept going, and meanwhile we got another opinion, so we saw another midwife, just a routine appointment the next day, and she said, yeah, baby's got a tongue tie. So at this point we started to look into, it was a family member, knew somebody who'd also experienced pretty much what we were going through, so they got a contact for us for a tongue tie specialist. Just in case anyone is going through something similar, we went to a lovely lady called Diana Warren, who is based in the Midlands here in the UK. She was incredible, and any anxieties I had, and believe me there were a lot when I went to see her, were pretty much eliminated as soon as I stepped into her clinic and started to speak to her. She really put me at ease. But meanwhile, I'm at the hospital having another routine appointment because by this point my mental health was starting to do this, and I was wondering, all of this hand pumping was exhausting, so I was going to get an electric hand pump because I had a manual one. I wasn't able to get any milk out with a manual hand pump. Everyone was telling me manual ones are crap, you can't get milk out with those, which is a lie as well, because a lot of people have a lot of success with a hand pump, but a lot of people like just go for an electric pump. But by this point as well, I was like, if I'm not getting much milk out, I don't really want to be spending a huge amount of money on a decent electric breast pump just to be able to it not work. So I really didn't know what to do. My local breastfeeding group in town were going to lend me one, but they didn't have any. So the hospital lent me one. So I went home with this breast pump, and I was told to pump every 2 hours, 10 to 15 minutes on each boob. So I did as I was told. So every 2 hours I did it, and over the course of an entire day I got 5 ml of milk out, which I didn't know this, but 5 ml is a teaspoon. So I just kept looking at this pitiful amount of milk thinking, I can't keep my baby alive on that. And it didn't matter how much I pumped, and I went over a week doing this. More just wasn't coming out. There wasn't even a slight increase. I tell you what was happening though, there was a decrease. So on the first day I got a teaspoon, the next day I think I got a teaspoon, and the day after that I got noticeably less. And by this point I was like panicking, thinking, oh my god. And then I was getting upset, because if you're stressed and upset, then that's not going to help your milk supply either. In the end, it got so bad mentally. I don't really want to go into too much detail because I will start crying. It does still hit me like a ton of bricks if I go into too much detail about it. But my midwives are, in a nutshell, keeping a close eye on me because my mental health was rapidly just doing this, because they could tell that I wasn't in a very good place with it. And I said to them, look, thank you for giving me the breast pump to borrow, but I am giving it back. Just having it in my house looking at me was bringing me down in itself, just having it there. Also, if you've been through this yourself, you will know, but also feeding and then having to pump afterwards, if you're still doing that now, I salute you, because it is so physically, mentally exhausting. It is such a challenge. So even during the night is the worst as well, because you wake up, you feed your baby, you do a change and all that kind of stuff, then you have to pump before you can go back to sleep. And wow, just wow, it's a lot. It's very, very hard. But I was doing this and not getting any results, so I was going through all of this and not getting any milk. And then it got to a point with the pumping where I was trying to get the milk, and whatever milk I did get had blood in it from my nipples. My nipples were now bleeding, so that's why eventually I was like, sod this, I can't do it anymore. I went to a midwife crying, and they were just like, look, if you haven't got milk by now, it's not gonna come. And again, I took that as gospel, I guess. I have been told since that wasn't the case. It's not necessarily true. I think they were probably trying to protect me more than anything, but having spoken to a lactation consultant, I could have gone back to it, but it would have been incredibly challenging, like harder than the first time, so demanding, because you have to get at it, like you have to be doing it a lot. And I was told that you can try and stimulate that milk supply, like as long as you don't go past 6 weeks postpartum, then you can still be trying to get the milk. Like past 6 weeks, it's a lot harder to like try and get the milk supply coming in. So the lactation consultant did say, look, we can try, it's going to be challenging. But as I say, I was so bad up here that I was like, I don't want to put that on myself, because then I can't be a good mum for him. And something had to slide, and I think that's something I've really struggled with over the last few weeks, is understanding that I can't do everything. There's such a huge emphasis on breast is best when actually fed is best, but if you've been through this or any kind of feeding complications, you'll know that even the fed is best phrase just gets on your nerves, it gets on your literal tits sometimes. And I just wish people wouldn't draw attention to it where it's not their business to. Because something I've noticed about having a baby is people are quick to say, are they feeding well? Are you breastfeeding? Are they sleeping through the night? No, I've got a newborn, of course they're not sleeping through the night. I mean, some people manage it by like 8 weeks, but you know, we're not there yet, so who knows. But I just, whatever, as long as he's safe and healthy and warm and fed, that's all I care about. But I also understand how feeding can really get into your head and screw you up. So in the end I had no choice but to give up. It was carry on and make myself ill up here, or just call it quits, go to bottle feeding and formula and just accept it. And that's what I've been doing. But holy cow, I didn't understand, I totally underestimated how emotionally attached you can get even from just a week of breastfeeding, and it hit me really hard. It hit me hard that I would never have that connection with him again. And I didn't know when I was breastfeeding him, I didn't know that that would be the last time. Part of me is like, is it better that I didn't know that I was going to be doing it for the last time then? Or if I knew it was going to be the last time, would I have savoured it a bit more? Would I have taken a picture? Would I? You just never know. I'll never know, and I just need to make peace with that. So we went to see the consultant, and what we were told was a mild tongue tie from midwives actually turned out to be a severe tongue tie when we saw the specialist. And we went into this appointment thinking, right, okay, we were terrified at the idea of having his tongue cut. I felt awful about it, I felt guilty, I felt like it was unnecessary. And we said, unless it's 100% necessary, we're not doing it. But we got there, and there's basically this scale, like I think it's 1 to 14 on function. So appearance is 1 to 10, I think, and I think he was a 5. And then functionality, so how well the tongue works, 1 to 14. So 14 being the best and 1 being the worst. So my boy was sitting at a 4. So it was a really quite bad tongue tie. And she was like, look, if you don't have this done, it could very well affect the way he manages solid foods. When the time comes to have his solid foods, he is going to struggle with bottles or breastfeeding no matter what you put in his mouth. He couldn't hold a dummy at all, so we didn't use one of those. And she said it could have affected his speech as well if we didn't get it done. So I held his head whilst Diana came in from the other side with the scissors, the tools, and it was over in a second. I can't believe how quick it was over. So she also assured me that there aren't any like nerves in that bit of skin. it's the bit under your tongue, so it was restricting any movement and any sort of, the tongue can't cup either, so it can't cup round things to suck on things. And essentially what had happened is he wasn't able to latch on properly, he wasn't able to stimulate and suckle, therefore the milk never did come in. And between the pair of us, hey buddy, what a pair we make. He's in his donut right now on the floor. It was over in a second. There was a little bit of crying afterwards, which is totally to be expected, but I had a bottle at the ready, straight into his mouth, and he was sucking better than I'd ever seen him before, and he downed the whole bottle, which again, when I say whole bottle, I mean the serving that we made up for him, not a whole bottle, because he was only 2 weeks old when we took him for this. Which apparently the earlier the better, to get it seen to, get it looked at. But he recovered really quickly, and within a week, less than a week I would probably say, it had healed up. It just looked like an ulcer in his mouth. And yeah, just for anyone that is experiencing the same thing, tongue tie is incredibly common, and it's something that I've become quite passionate about, like talking about it, because it's so common, yet it's not something that you do hear spoken about very often. And don't get me wrong, you watching this now, you might have a tongue tie yourself and be totally unaffected. But as I say, there's many different steps on the scale as to how bad it can be. And a lot of people have it, and a lot of people have very normal lives with it. They can eat, they can speak, they can do everything, and you wouldn't even know that it was a thing. But sometimes it does affect feeding, and that was what happened with us. And yeah, it's just something that I feel quite sensitive about still. I really miss it. What I do to kind of not compensate but still get that connection, we do a lot of skin to skin, so we both get naked, we both have lots of skin to skin, and it's lovely. It's one of my favourite things. Skin to skin is honestly literally my favourite thing to do. I just love feeling his soft little body against mine, and it's the loveliest thing. It's not quite the same, don't get me wrong, it's not the same, and it's always been super special. I love skin to skin, but at the start I was like, it's not the same. But to me, that's now where we get that sort of that extra close sort of bond and connection. So as I say, I'm gonna go and make him some food up now actually, because you can probably hear him, he's getting a bit like, mother, feed me. But yeah, I was in the coffee shop, when I was in the coffee shop 2 days ago, and these little old ladies, well, they meant well. And that's, you know, we've spoken about intention before, and how you can have the best intentions, but still sometimes it's best to just, well, these little old ladies were like, oh, if you need anyone to nurse your baby, we'll do it, because I was bottle feeding. And I was just like, and just having that drawn to it, like someone else being like, oh, I'll nurse your baby for you if you can't do it. I know it was harmless, but you know, hormones and just feeling very sensitive as a new mum, it really got under my skin. And I just was in the coffee shop like, please just don't talk to me, please leave me alone. Something I've noticed if I go out and about with him, especially if I'm on my own, is how many people approach me. In the past week alone, I've had 4 men approach me in a supermarket just to talk rubbish basically, but I would just rather be left alone. I don't like it, I'm not a fan. But yeah, I wanted to talk about it because obviously it can be a really sensitive subject and very, very isolating, and I was the kind of person I didn't know where to turn to. It was actually a friend of mine on Instagram, has a sister who I've become chatty with via Small Business World, and it was her who reached out to me and said, I'm part of a breastfeeding support group in our local town, do you want to, you know, be a part of it? And they are the people that said you can borrow a pump if you'd like, if we've got one. And they just, having somebody reach out like that, it was just that little bit of extra support that I needed, and it was just a complete stranger reaching out and helping me. So if by talking about it, it makes you feel less alone and less isolated, because nothing has hit me like that before. Things have hit me in different ways, but in terms of feeling as though my body isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing, because over and over again, and I quote, from various medical professionals, I was told your nipples need to toughen up, your milk will come, you just need to keep trying and it will come. Sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes you don't get milk. But being told you will, and it will happen, when it doesn't happen, it makes you feel like your body has majorly messed up and that something's not quite right. And I think the reason it was messing with me so much is my body had just done this miraculous thing of bringing a baby into the world, which I know a lot of you will know my history and what we've been through already. So to already feel like my body's failed, my body's messed up. I'd just given birth to a beautiful baby boy, and then to feel like, actually, you're still messing up. It wasn't a pleasant feeling. I am so glad that I've left it behind because of what it was doing to me mentally, but I would also be lying if I said that I didn't miss the connection that it brought to me and my boy. But you know, I've been making a massive effort to connect and just have that intimacy in other ways. So as I say, bath time is great together. I like to set the room up and make it nice and dim, but put some music on and just have baby massage as well. Lots of skin to skin. We're actually gonna try swimming in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting. We're going to a baby swimming group. I'm feeling much more positive than I did, and I hated the fact that this whole situation was dampening a really magical time in our lives, and I just felt really down. I dread to think of where I'd be right now if I didn't give up. I actually I was on the phone to my dad at one point, just having a general like how are you phone call a couple of weeks after he was born. Was it the first week? And I ended up just having a full-on meltdown to my dad on the phone, which doesn't happen very often at all. I don't go to my daddy and cry like that, but I did. I was just sobbing down the phone to him, and it was hard. It really started to cut me up. But as I say, things are much more positive now. I'm feeling really good about everything, and I'm just loving life, loving having him be a part of it, and I can't imagine a world where he's not in it now. So anyway, I'm gonna go feed Little Bear, but I hope you're all well. Thank you for watching, thank you for checking in. I hope you're all doing okay. Please let me know what you've been up to. It feels weird to be saying this now so late into the year, but I hope you all had a lovely Christmas and New Year, and I hope to be back soon with some arty videos once again.